Blood donations are down across the country right as people need blood due to summer-related injuries. Local 5's Max Swinson explains how you can help.
Someone in the U.S. receives a blood transfusion every 2 seconds. Soon, that life-saving care could be at risk due to critically low blood supply. The American Red Cross declared an emergency blood shortage on July 13th. And while the Red Cross doesn't supply blood to central Iowa hospitals, donation centers here, like LifeServe, say they need help.
Iowa follows the national trends pretty closely. This is a fundamental issue in every area, every blood center.
Emily Hawley with the Red Cross's Nebraska-Iowa region said this area is a huge blood supplier for the rest of the country.
The American Red Cross supplies about 40% of the nation's entire blood supply. And so when it's down that far, that obviously has local ramifications.
Hawley adds this recent decline is significant, even though donations usually drop in the summer.
People act different. They're out doing more things. They're more active, more opportunities to get in accidents and have things happen where they might need blood.
Blood donation centers say hospitals can delay non-emergency surgeries when the blood supply is critically low.
So if blood is used in a trauma, say, then that blood is not on the shelf for a routine surgery. That blood is not available for somebody managing a chronic condition, and that blood might not be available for the next incoming emergency.
If you're looking to help, the Red Cross and LifeServe say they really need O-positive blood. It's the blood type of 1/3 of all Americans.
There are not many acts you can take where you do something for an hour, you walk out, and you know for a fact you probably just saved someone's life. And it's probably someone in your general community's life.
And donating blood usually takes between 10 and 15 minutes. Max Swenson, Local 5 News.
Today was the final game for the World Cup, and one community celebrated by coming together for a block party. Local 5's Brandon Wynn spoke with residents of the Oak Ridge neighborhood on what made this game so special.
The World Cup final was today, and that meant for the Oak Ridge neighborhood, a community was coming together.
For the Oak Ridge neighborhood, the World Cup has brought people from all cultures together. Karawa Mamor is a former Oak Ridge neighborhood resident. He feels the community has always been tight-knit, but the World Cup has been especially helpful in community bonding.
All these people coming together really shows the diversity that Des Moines really has to offer. And for Oak Ridge to host a game like with the community just shows the different aspects of what soccer does to the world.
The Oak Ridge neighborhood is very diverse, something that Mamor said adds to the experience of coming together for something as universal as the World Cup.
Soccer is a uniting sport that brings everybody together, so having a watch party at Oak Ridge just kind of feels right.
Christine Irvine with Oak Ridge also shared how despite cultural and language barriers, the residents have come together for the love of the world's most popular sport.
And many of our residents are from many places other than the United States, and they can come together here with their neighbors and have fellowship, have food, and have a common language of soccer funds.
The event featured not just the soccer match, but also bounce houses for the kids and food for those in attendance. Irvine feels this event is also an opportunity to share about some of the other resources that the neighborhood offers. Residents of Oak Ridge receive stable housing as they look to pursue furthering their careers and opportunities. Irvine explained how events like today's watch party are just one part in making sure the community is growing together as they pursue that common goal. In Des Moines, Brandon Wynn, Local 5 News.
1 year after fire destroyed a building in its town square, Albia is again dealing with problems in the area. The 137-year-old Skin building partially collapsed yesterday. Here's Local 5's J.D. Snover with more.
History
right now, the tuba floors that they built the inside wall out of are buried in those bricks.
Isn't always showcased in a museum.
It's the key structure that we want to try to preserve.
In Albia, it's living in the town square.
For us, it's pride. You know, it's who we are.
But Dan Stalker with the local preservation group knows
we have structures that are weakening and tough, and we know that
eventually everything becomes history. Even
couldn't believe that it had fallen partially down. And it was one of the last buildings I would have ever guessed.
The buildings people worry about the least.
It was one that, again, the owners have done a great job of trying to maintain it.
It's written right there on the facade.
Well, the original, it was Elmer Skeen built it to have a furniture store.
In 1889, And Tom Woodard with the Monroe County Historical Society says that was just the beginning.
Edgar Downs, he worked in the furniture and was also an undertaker, which back then the furniture maker was pretty much automatically the undertaker for the community.
Fast forward 137 years, it's not the only loss on the square recently.
When it rains, it pours, and I think we've had our share.
Last week marked the 1-year anniversary of the R.O. Kramer building going up in flames.
They're just really devastated that our square is falling like this.
But both Woodard and Stalker know it's not the last chapter in the history book.
We don't want to go to modern upscale buildings. We want to keep our Victorian heritage alive and the architectural structures, at least the character.
A story they're hoping to keep alive. In Albia, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
We are now heading into day 3 for RAGBRAI riders.
Yeah, the riders, they went from Harlan to Guthrie Center last night, and now they're getting ready to leave for Boone. Local 5's Emma Stroner is live in Guthrie Center this morning, where she's been speaking with riders. And Emma, how are they feeling ahead of that trip to Boone?
Well, one thing is they're certainly wanting to beat the heat. They got right up early this morning, getting their things loaded onto the truck behind us and heading out getting started. But Paxton is sticking around for us, so we're really grateful for his time. Paxton, how are you doing this morning?
Great, yeah, excited, a little tired.
And you are 11 years old, so do you feel like seeing all the riders here, do you feel like you're one of the younger people here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would say so?
Yeah.
Why did you decide that you were going to do RAGBRAI this year?
Well, last year we learned of it on a ride and thought, let's do it a second time.
Yeah, okay, so this is your second RAGBRAI then?
Yes.
Okay, how was last year compared to this year so far?
A little easier.
A little easier. I mean, it is shorter, so you've got that. How are you feeling heading into today going to Boone?
Excited to be in a new town. It's a little longer today.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. 61 miles, I think, right? Where are you from?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minnesota. So you came here from Minnesota. Wow. What brings you? Why do you come all this way to do RAGBRAI?
For the ride, yeah.
Because your dad's right ahead of us, so you're doing this with your dad. How does it feel to be able to do this with your family too?
It's great. I mean, to get out there, sometimes it's hot, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially the first couple days have been really hot. How are you staying cool?
We get out early, beat the heat. We got here at 11.
Okay.
Around.
Do you bring a lot of water? Are you making sure? How do you make sure your water stays cold?
Yeah, we get lots of cold water and just drink it and then pour in more cold water.
Okay, cool. So, and I know you've done this last year. Do you feel like you've gotten better? Because I mean, certainly you have to bike a lot of miles. So do you feel like having that last year, you're able to come in this year, you're like, okay, I got this, even though it's a little bit shorter?
Yeah, we came in this we got this.
Yes, absolutely. And it's bright and early, but I know you guys are going to kill it. Do you have any tips for other riders, especially people who are only 11 and doing this? Do you have any advice for them?
Get out there early, beat the heat, drink lots of water.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else, or is that kind of the big three there?
That's the big three. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Paxton. It was great speaking to you this morning. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And good luck today. And you're not going to be the only person we're going to talk with. We're going to talk with more riders this morning. So stick around and come back in 30 minutes. You're going to hear from more people and how they're heading going to Boone today. Live in Guthrie Center, Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.
Riders on RAGBRAI are out in full force in central Iowa. Today's route spanned 60 miles, beginning in Guthrie Center and ending in Boone. Local 5's JD Snover joins us live from the overnight town. And JD, it looks like a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, Stephanie, it's been a ton of fun. The miles are certainly impressive, but ask most riders and they'll actually tell you it's the people that keep them coming back. Following today's route from Perry to Boone, I got to see that firsthand and actually met people from all over the country, from Fresno, California to the coast of New Jersey, so that was pretty cool. But in Perry, that relationship actually goes both ways, and as the town looks for the chance to return the favor. Riding into Perry, visitors had no shortage of ways to spend their stop. And Larry Vodnik of the local historical society was hoping to catch their attention.
You have to put that Iowa in there because there are other Perry historical societies.
His mission goes beyond preserving local history.
We got permission from RAGBRAI to host a RAGBRAI museum for the state of Iowa.
Perry is a natural fit, he says.
They wanted it in a smaller community. They didn't want to go to Des Moines
because RAGBRAI is all about showcasing every corner of Iowa. And with thousands of visitors passing through town, the Historical Society saw a chance to build support for its newest project.
Gordon, we're talking about the quilts now.
By raffling off themed quilts.
My wife made these 3 quilts.
Made by an award-winning artist.
She got Best of Show at the State Fair 3 or 4 years ago, and her life revolves around quilting.
In hopes that preserving old memories will create some new ones.
We're happy to see everybody here in town.
Of course, the writers couldn't stay in town forever. They packed up and headed north to Ogden, where the next generation was already waiting to welcome them. A reminder that while the route changes every year, the people are what keep writers coming back. So the party already well underway here in Boone. Tonight, as riders settle into their overnight town where they're going to camp, rock cover band Hairball will be the headliner here on South Story Street tonight, so that's always fun. And tomorrow they'll head east towards Marshalltown with a big stop in Nevada. Stephanie?
Well, gas, food, and inflation. It's a trifecta of price increases that are impacting almost everyone on a day-to-day basis. Emily Carlson explains how a local nonprofit is adapting.
Well, Stephanie, gas prices are up 27%, food costs are up 3%, and inflation up 4%. For Leslie Life, that's a big increase. Their goal, not jeopardize services for the 14,000 seniors they serve across the state. Wesley Life runs the Meals on Wheels program. They feed about 1,000 seniors in our community every day. They also operate 100 cars as part of their fleet to transport residents and clients where they need to go. To save money, they've made some changes to their day-to-day operation, including combining certain routes and having team members carpool. They say planning ahead and being flexible plays a big role. Every year, they try to forecast for issues beyond their control.
More recently, certainly fuel prices have been kind of highlighted. That impacts not only how we deliver services, but it impacts our team members and and how they spend their monies as part of their paycheck. So ultimately for us, it's been impactful that way, but there's been no aspect of our business or our cost structure that hasn't been adversely impacted in some way related to increasing costs.
Meals on Wheels says if folks are not able to get a meal in their homes, Wesley will refer them to another source. Wesley Life works with Polk County to supply congregate midday meals at 15 community sites across the country. For gas prices, Gas Buddy has stated that the only way that fuel prices will come down is when the Strait of Hormuz is fully open. Stephanie?
Well, a Des Moines couple hopes a recent crash near their home will lead to change. Yesterday, the crash sent one person to the hospital and caused thousands of people to lose power. As Local 5's Alex Fulton reports, the couple says similar situations have been happening for years.
A car coming down Indianola Avenue crashed into a power box. It was all captured on Jeff Lightly's Ring camera.
Well, we were just sitting in our living room and heard a loud crash.
He and his wife live right by where Indianola Avenue meets Watrous Avenue.
I immediately went out there. Myself and several neighbors went out to see if the person needed help, and indeed they did. They were injured.
It wasn't a first for Lightly.
Truthfully, it was here we go again.
In the past decade, 15 crashes have happened at the intersection, according to the city of Des Moines.
We've seen people seriously injured. We've seen people killed. That's traumatic to everybody in the neighborhood, because when this happens, people come running out to help.
Cars have even ran into Lightly's mailbox. In fact, he's had to replace it a total of 8 times over the years.
We've lost $2,000 to $3,000 personally from uninsured drivers causing damage. So, there's all that.
Lightly wants to see some more patrol cars frequent the area.
We've been in contact with the city, with Public Works, Transportation, our city councilman, Des Moines Police, they're all trying their best to come up with a solution.
But he says police and public officials can't solve the problem alone. He's asking drivers to always keep their eyes on the road and avoid distractions like cell phones.
Let's be safe. You know, your decisions can impact others in ways that you might not intend.
In Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
A new law that went into effect this month changes how police departments handle bias prevention as well as racial and cultural awareness training.
It's no longer a state requirement, leaving it up to individual agencies to decide if they will keep doing it. Local 5's Emma Stroner is at the Capitol and caught up with a couple departments as well as the NAACP about what this law actually changes. Emma, what are they saying about it?
Well, we spoke with the Waukee and Des Moines police departments. They both say they're still committed to these types of trainings, regardless of what the law says. Now, there might be other agencies that also have the same attitude, but the NAACP still worries that this is going to set Iowa backwards. House File 2711. It includes multiple changes regarding education and law enforcement, including the elimination of racial and cultural awareness training at the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy and the yearly bias prevention training. The changes went into effect on July 1st, but for Waukee and Des Moines police departments,
it does not change anything for us.
We don't see any reason to stop it.
They will continue doing what they always do.
It is important for our team to understand that they're going to encounter different populations. We work through different processes to make sure that our team can appropriately handle those situations.
We've been doing diversity and cultural awareness training for decades. We had a written policy in place years before 2020, so we certainly see the value in that, and we're going to continue it.
While departments in the metro still choose to do the trainings, the NAACP still worries about the effects the new law could have later down the line.
A relationship that works together to ultimately do the best for our community, that's what we should be focusing on. What we've seen in this last legislative session does not strengthen it.
That's because legislation signed 6 years ago was different, the More Perfect Union bill. It was a bipartisan police reform bill that mandated the trainings that are no longer required.
For the NAACP, it's disheartening, especially because this was a bipartisan criminal justice reform effort. This is a huge step back for us.
As NAACP hopes to take a step forward, President Betty Andrews says her team will push for the requirements to return not only during the next legislative session, but as we approach key elections.
Our work has already begun. We're looking at the upcoming elections and wanting to make sure that we get people in place that do understand how important this type of training is for our constituents.
Local 5 has reached out to multiple supporters of the law and did not hear back. The law does eliminate some of those trainings. It still puts in place a requirement for de-escalation techniques and the trainings for those techniques. Now, Waukee, Des Moines Police, and NAACP, they all agree that is very important to have, but the NAACP says that it is still different from these types of trainings and doesn't replace them. Live in Des Moines, Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.
The Iowa Farm Bureau released a report sharing a concerning trend in the Iowa ag economy. Local 5's Brandon Wynn spoke with the Bureau on what they're seeing.
A new report from the Iowa Farm Bureau shows that farms like this one here in Polk City may be facing some tough times, and if things don't change, it may get worse.
The pressure is rising. That's the name of the recently released Agricultural Economic Report by the Iowa Farm Bureau.
Imagine that you have a household income of $100,000. Over a 3-year period, that $100,000 became $47,000.
That's a 53% income drop for farmers since 2022. Christopher Pudens with the Iowa Farm Bureau says a lot of that pressure is coming from increased competition from countries who have seen an uptick in ag production. Tie that in with high inflation, and that leads to some expensive crop costs.
For corn, the production costs have been up 37% since 2021. And for soybeans, the production costs have been up 36%.
The Iowa Farmers Union says the high production costs also have to do with recent federal policy.
We have foreign markets that we have relied on and built up over the years, and a chaotic trade policy has eaten away at those markets for farmers.
President of the Iowa Farmers Union, Aaron Lehman, shared how he believes the answer partially lies in some legislative change.
The current farm bill that we're operating was passed 8 years ago. And we badly need the updates.
One constant for Iowa farmers have been land valuations, which are remaining stable. This is significantly better than the farm crisis of the 1980s.
The concern is that if we keep going forward, we might end up with more and more folks shifting from green to yellow and from yellow to red.
Brandon Wynn, Local 5 News.
RAGBRAI is in full swing right now. Today, bikers started in Boone. They made their way to Gilbert, then Nevada. Then they ended the night in Marshalltown. And the party is well underway. That's where we find Local 5's JD Snover. And JD, having fun out there?
Yeah, Stephanie, I'm personally having a blast. It's been such a great day. You can see riders starting to trickle into Marshalltown. We've got a street performer back there getting up on a unicycle. It looks like got a big crowd drawn for that. So all in all, a great time. But I actually spent most of my day in Nevada, just west of here. But should I call it Nevada just for this one day?
After rolling in on the historic Jefferson Highway, RAGBRAI riders got a taste of Las Vegas, right here in central Iowa.
They really put a lot of heart into it, yeah.
Some went all in.
We renewed our vows on RAGBRAI.
Yeah. Like Vic May and Mackenzie Brown of California, who are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary.
It actually did get a little teary-eyed. It was quite special.
Yeah. For some local residents, the day carried a little more weight.
It had a small little fire, very unexpected. And we're just trying to rebuild and get back to where we were.
Reagan Sayers' family owns the beloved Starbucks Drive-In, which needs rebuilt.
We have a great community in Nevada, and we thought that, getting a booth together, it would help support and help bring in the donations that we need.
For her, the stop represented a step forward. But eventually, riders had to mount up again and headed for Colo, where they were met.
I got my niece and some neighbor friends, and the girls are inside napping.
With cold lemonade and tasty treats.
I figured it'd also be a good way of showing math skills with the money, and good way of entrepreneurship. So,
and some excellent customer service.
So I know we've got a little bit more RAGBRAI coverage coming up for you, but I just want to make one note about tomorrow's ride. It actually starts with a breakfast stop in the Marshall County town of Green Mountain, which hosts just about 70 people day to day. That's how many people live there. And so when you bring thousands and thousands of riders through, that'll certainly be something. But if you ask me and Stephanie, I know you probably think the same here, but what's more quintessential Iowa or RAGBRAI than that?
Nothing at all, JD. Love to see our Iowa towns shine on this ride. Thank you so much. After the recent storm, a Des Moines resident doesn't have a home for her backyard chickens. A large tree fell onto her chicken coop, causing the roof to cave in. And as Local 5's Alex Fulton reports, the resident wasn't so sure she'd find her flock.
Monday night's storm did a number on Sarah Henderson's property. You can see the fallen tree takes up almost half of her entire yard. It's now no longer safe for her chickens to be in their coop back there. Sarah Henderson heard a loud boom at her home.
I immediately pulled out my camera. I can't see my chickens. What's going on?
She went outside to see what it was and spotted her neighbor's tree on top of her chicken coop.
These are also my babies. Like, there's a tree on them. I don't know if they're alive. I don't know if they're injured. I don't know anything now.
Henderson was in distress and didn't know what to do, so she called her uncle.
It's raining. My husband can't pull out the electric saw or anything to get them out because it's downpouring out. He could get electrocuted.
Her uncle came by. Together, he and Henderson's husband tore up the coop and checked for the chickens. They only saw 11 of the 13.
I was freaking out. I was terrified that, I was going to find them underneath the structure or in the yard somewhere because that tree, full force went through the coop.
The next morning, Henderson found the first missing bird.
She could have gotten out right here and just left, but she didn't. She was over there by the door.
She didn't realize it at the time, but that same morning, she took a video of the final fowl.
After we found her, I was looking through my videos and I'm like, oh my God, I was right there.
While the full flock is all accounted for, they don't have a place to live, and Henderson isn't sure what to do with them.
Their coop is gone. It's a $5,000 coop, so I'm like, I worked hard for that.
In Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
University of Iowa researchers are working on a system that could predict future nitrate levels.
And NASA is funding this effort, and the university is partnering with the city of Iowa City, with Cedar Rapids, and also Des Moines Waterworks on this. Local 5's Emma Stroner is here in studio with more about this system. And Emma, how far out will it be able to make these predictions?
Well, they're working on two products, one that can predict 1 to 7 days out and another that can predict 4 to 8 weeks out. The project is going to pair NASA's satellite data with water monitoring systems here in Iowa and aims to make it possible for predictions made in areas that we currently can't make them. Project leader Jesus Gomez-Velez says eventually he wants anyone, anywhere in the world to be able to see these predictions. The project is on a 3-year timeline, so for the first year, they're focusing on developing the tools and training their models. Then, during year 2, researchers will test the models and work with public water utilities to assess exactly how they can fit the forecasting system into their operations. Then, by the end of year 2, they hope to have the system fully ready to use. Gomez-Velez says that doesn't necessarily fix the high nitrate levels we've been seeing, but it can better equip public utilities to prepare for those levels.
It doesn't necessarily solve the problem with the high concentrations, but it allows us to make better decisions and to plan for the conditions that we currently have. In other words, it will allow for these public water utilities to make better decisions about where to take water from, what sources of water to use, how to blend them.
And this morning, we're hearing from Des Moines Waterworks, a partner of the project. Their team says in part, quote, the forecasting tool could become another source of information that helps Des Moines Waterworks operators anticipate and prepare for changing river conditions and nitrate concentrations. Advance notice of what is occurring in the watershed and source waters will give us more time to make adjustments to treatment processes. And through this process, Gomez-Velez says they can learn more about what is driving the high concentrations. He says they will observe atmospheric conditions, land use conditions, and other physical and biochemical factors. Dana?
New tonight, there are a record number of housing units under construction right now in downtown Des Moines. Local 5's Emily Carlson explains the reason behind the uptick in a new trend.
Well, Stephanie, today financing cleared that will turn a historic Des Moines landmark office building into a mixed-use space that includes 209 new apartment units. It's the latest in a string of office buildings being converted into much-needed housing. In 2022, no housing was built in downtown. It has slowly increased every year since then. Right now, there are 1,141 units under construction. That is 37% of the Metro's projects. 977 more are in the works. The burst of apartment construction follows the COVID-19 pandemic. Affordability is driving apartment demand. Mortgage interest rates have more than doubled since bottoming out in 2021, and Metro home prices have risen dramatically. Last year, the median home price was $315,000. That's according to the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors. That's a 40% increase in just the past 5 years. Another statistic that is driving younger folks to seek and stay in apartments, the National Association of Realtors says that first-time home buyers have fallen to a record low 21%, and their average age has reached a record, another one, 40, up from 30 just 10 years ago. Stephanie.
On the first year back in office, the Trump administration ramped up its immigration enforcement efforts. Figures from the University of California, Berkeley and UCLA show deportations increased compared to the final year of the Biden administration. A local immigration advocacy group recently examined those numbers in a new report. Local 5's J.D. Snover is in studio to break it all down. J.D.
Yeah, Stephanie, Iowa Migrant for Movement Justice recently released what it calls its ICE in Iowa report for the second year in a row. So I spent the day reviewing that group's finding and comparing them to the underlying data through those universities, and here's what I found to be verifiable. Records compiled by the Deportation Data Project at UCLA and UC Berkeley indicate ICE arrests increased nationwide by more than 200,000 between January of 2024 and 2025.
ICE being in Iowa is not a new thing, and ICE detaining and deporting people in Iowa is not a new thing. Of course, what is new is their reach.
Using that database, Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice estimates at least nearly 1,800 people were detained by ICE in Iowa during the first year of President Trump's second term.
The individuals who put the data together say very clearly is that this is what when we say at least, it's because we know it's a portion of the larger data.
According to the data, roughly 9 out of every 10 ICE detentions in Iowa begin with contact from local law enforcement.
Individuals saying, my husband was driving to work and he got pulled over for X reason, often a minor traffic stop. And then from that first initial interaction, they then are finding themselves in ICE detention.
The publication also identifies 8 Iowa County jails it says have held people for ICE beyond 72 hours, including here in Polk County.
County jails, 8 county jails that are detaining, and then many are transferred out of the state. That is, when they'll be interacting with ICE officers.
The report further estimates about 86% of people detained in Iowa in 2025 were also ultimately deported. Local 5's reached out to ICE and DHS as well as other elected officials who have publicly supported them for comment, but we have not yet heard back. Stephanie?
A rural housing shortage in Iowa is forcing some communities to take action. Local 5's Brandon Wynn was in the city of Panora, where city leaders shared what they're doing to combat the crisis.
For many rural communities here in Iowa, it is hard to find a home, but some builders are trying to combat that.
Somewhere between a cornfield and suburbia sits Panora's newest housing development.
Panora's a wonderful, close-knit community. We're celebrating our 175th birthday this year, so we were the founding community in Guthrie County.
Panora Mayor Curtis Thornberry shared how after almost 2 centuries, the historic Iowa town faces a housing crisis like so many small Iowa communities.
If you go to any small town, you're probably going to hear similar stories as Panora.
Andrew Randall is the CEO of Panora Fiber, which sold the land that became the newest 5 homes of the Panora community. Randall says how many small towns throughout Iowa are facing a housing shortage.
It's the chicken and the egg. To get jobs, you need to have places for people to live, right? And so do you build the homes first for the jobs or vice versa?
Panora elected to go with Origin Homes, who specializes in bringing much-needed homes to these small communities.
There's a lot of aging homes in these communities. There maybe need a lot of work, remodeling, that kind of thing. So the housing stock is very low.
A larger shift in Iowans moving to urban centers has led to the lack of new homes. This means those who wish to remain in small towns have some work to do.
We looked at what opportunities we had regionally to work with partners. So this is just a great example of a good partnership.
Panora wishes to continue their residential expansion to hopefully attract further business opportunities, something many communities are also looking to do. In Panora, Brandon Wynn, Local 5 News.
And then there is a man from Sweden who is going viral for falling in love with Iowa.
Philip Johansson moved here just over a year ago and has fully embraced the culture, visiting all the Iowa staples and even starting a podcast. Local 5's Emma Stroner is in studio after talking with him about this. And Emma, I think a lot of people are wondering, why exactly did he pick Iowa?
Yeah, so many people are asking him that question. And when he moved here last spring, he started posting his move on TikTok, and a bunch of Iowans saw it and wondered why choose here of all places, especially coming from Sweden. So here's his answer to that question. After Philip Johansson graduated in London and moved back home,
I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know that I didn't want to stay in Sweden.
He knew he wanted something different.
I always love, like moving to new places, meeting new people.
So he moved to a new place.
You guys, I am moving to Iowa today from Sweden.
And met a lot of new people.
I'm so unbelievably grateful for the Iowans.
Just not what those people expected him to do.
If he did tell them, they're like, what are you doing? You're making a big, big mistake. I was like, no, you guys, it would be iconic.
Iconic is exactly how Johansson described his move to Iowa in spring of 2025. Since then, his time here has become much more meaningful.
How Iowa has actually saved my life.
Yes, the Iowa many associate with flat fields and pig farms is the same Iowa that inspired Johansson to be his best self.
I truly have become so happier and more well-balanced.
But it's not because Iowa is bustling with a bunch of things to do. In Johansson's eyes, it's actually the opposite.
I feel like I've really been forced to kind of figure out what I like to do, what my passions are, like what drives me. because like I didn't have really other distractions going on.
And along his peaceful journey, he's connected with thousands of Iowans online.
Like, I recently started like vlogging then my life.
Tried all the staples,
Mac and cheese.
and gone to all the classic landmarks.
I would definitely say the State Fair and one of the pub line.
And while Johansson loves moving around and seeing new places, Iowa has found a permanent spot in his heart.
I definitely know ready for me.
Of course, I also had to ask Johansson about Iowa Nice. He says it's definitely real, and even small interactions like talking to strangers at the gas station is something he wasn't really used to in Sweden and London. He says communicating with Iowans has inspired him to be a lot more open and social. Dana?
Love that story, Emma. Iowa Nice is definitely here. Awesome he gets to experience it.